Hello and welcome to GreenFleet 365. My name's Kate Armitage and I'm your host for our discussion today. I'm delighted to be joined today by Lee Brown, Head of OZone at the Grosvenor Group, and we're going to be discussing the impacts of COVID-19, incentives and the innovative OZone service that is designed to help companies transition to ultra-low emission vehicles. Good afternoon, Lee.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Kate.
By way of introduction, can you tell me a bit more about the Grosvenor Group and your role as the head of OZone?
Yeah. Okay. So the Grosvenor Group were formed 35 years ago now, and it's the largest privately owned leasing company in the country. I originally joined Grosvenor back in 2001 as management accountant. I then sort of progressed through Grosvenor for 10 years, taking on more and more responsibility and getting involved in all sorts of areas of contract hire and fleet. In the last 10 years, I've got involved in all sorts of new areas of business, and now I head up our group OZone products, which is all about getting companies to introduce low emission fleets and embrace the trend towards doing our bit for the environment and saving some money as well.
If we think about the environmental side of electrification, over the last few months, our usual lives and routines have been paused, and we've seen positive effects that can have both in the reduction in road traffic and then obviously the environment and in particular air quality. How can the fleet industry really kind of take advantage of that unprecedented change in behaviour?
Well, I guess both ourselves and other leasing companies within the industry are out there doing everything they can to grow their fleet, and of course, low emission vehicles are a great way for us to do that. With everything that we've seen, in the press, about the improved air quality. It's more important now than ever, I think, for companies to try and embrace change and introduce low emission vehicles to their car policies. We've seen, levels of travel reducing dramatically. The number of cars on the roads has reduced dramatically. So, it's a really important time, for fleets now to try and embrace the change and carry on the momentum, if you like, improving the air quality and doing everything we can to reduce our carbon footprint. What we don't want to see is the momentum subside and attitudes change, and we all start feeling like we need a combustion engine vehicle again. So many of us, I think, now have perhaps questioned the need for our vehicle entirely. Many of us that perhaps only would ever consider a combustion engine vehicle would now consider plug-in hybrids. I mean, myself, I have a plug-in hybrid vehicle. My next company car, I will almost certainly take an electric vehicle because my partner's got a combustion engine. So if we need to go on a long distance at the weekend or travel long distance at the weekend, we can use her car. I can use my electric vehicle day to day for smaller journeys. I rarely travel more than 200 miles anyway. So I think it'd be very disappointing now to see the registrations increase for the combustion engine vehicles.
I agree. I think you kind of hit the sweet spot as well with the fact that you very rarely travel more than 200 miles, and I think that's important because we're now seeing so many vehicles coming to market that have a range above 200 miles on a single charge. So again, it's just making those battery electric vehicles more appealing to such a bigger group of people.
Yeah, absolutely. We've become increasingly more concerned about the damage that we're doing to the environment, and what we're going to leave for our grandchildren, and so on. So there's more and more demand now from drivers and employees to get themselves more, or lower CO2, more environmentally friendly vehicles. A lot of time with our customers now, trying to help them, enhance and tweak their car policies just to make sure that ultra low emission vehicles, are reflected favourably, if you like. Many customers still operate, rental-based policies, PLMD-based policies, and due to the high upfront cost of ultra low emission vehicles, they don't always fare well on policies like that. Because the main savings, if you like, are in Class 1A national insurance and leasing disallowance avoidance and fuel costs, of course, as well in some cases. So what we're trying to do, and we've done this with a few of our companies, a few of our customers, should I say, recently with Weetabix and Tata Steel previously as well, where we help them introduce whole life cost policies where the savings for ultra low emission vehicles are factored in, and in turn that makes the ultra low emission vehicles appear in the lowest grades possible.
Talking about some of the financial benefits, and obviously we've got the news in April that the benefit in kind tax for fully zero emission vehicles went down to 0%, which kind of feels like a bit of a landmark moment, because you've suddenly got these vehicles working very well for the drivers as well as the businesses. Are you seeing that? Is there a peak in interest as a result of that benefit in kind tax?
Yes, yeah. I guess for a lot of us, we knew that benefit in kind tax saving was coming prior to April. So I think demand probably increased since the autumn budget last year when it was first announced. So I think yes, the more and more people are becoming aware, and believe it or not, we still come across people that don't realise that there's zero benefit in kind tax on electric vehicles at the moment.
I do believe that, because OLEV did a survey, Go Ultra Low did a survey, and 30% of the respondents weren't
absolutely
aware that tax change had come in, and it really is significant, in terms of tipping that whole life cost and making it attractive for the driver.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And as more and more people become aware of, the free motoring, really. I mean, if you're on a company car policy and you've got, workplace charging, you can effectively get yourself an electric vehicle with zero benefit in kind tax, fully maintained, fully insured, with obviously, road tax included as well. And you can charge it free of charge at work, which again is of zero benefit in kind. You can actually have zero free motoring for a year, and even in April next year, it only increases to 1%, and there's a maximum of 2% for the next 5 years. So yes, of course, there is an increase in demand, and I'm sure it will continue. And I think the COVID situation and pandemic, where people are perhaps relying on their cars a lot less, doing a lot more web-based meetings, whereas before they'd have travelled the length of the country. I think I can only see demand increasing as people become more aware and realise the environmental benefits, and perhaps they don't need a combustion engine like they did before.
So I think that's quite a key point as well, because for the last 10 years, range anxiety and the ability, particularly with a pure battery electric vehicle, to charge that vehicle while you're out and about travelling on business, has been perceived as a barrier. Following the lockdown and the change in business travel and non-essential travel effectively stopping, has that created an opportunity to attract more drivers towards ultra low emission vehicles?
Absolutely, 100%. I think the range anxiety thing is obviously a big thing for anybody that's considering an electric vehicle. I think with lockdown, we've all become far more familiar with web-based meetings. We're probably half of us and half the people watching have spent a lot of time on Zoom, Skype, and Teams, and whatever. So the necessity to travel the length of the country for a meeting is far less. I think there'll be, even when the lockdown restrictions are lifted, the people won't be travelling the length of the country. I can only see lockdown from that perspective helping an increasing demand, and people won't have that range anxiety because they won't be doing so many journeys. And there's still the plug-in hybrid option as well. For people that do the occasional long distance journey, you can have a plug-in hybrid vehicle. It's still a lot better for the environment if you charge it properly, and you've still got that combustion engine for your occasional long distance journey. So there's I think the range anxiety issue will subside, absolutely.
Great. And when you talked about plug-in hybrids being an effective solution if they're charged properly, and you mentioned also about workplace charging. So I think what in terms of other financial incentives, what else is the government doing to support workplace charging?
They've recently changed the grant structure. So yes, they've reduced it from £500 to £300 per socket. They've actually doubled the number of sockets that the companies can install. So although it looks like a reduction, it's actually an increase. They're continuing to invest in the infrastructure and trying to encourage companies to have more charge points and increase the volume.
What about employees who don't have their own driveway and access to home charging and need to park on the street? What's happening there that can help?
The government have invested a further £10 million into on-street charging points, so that will allow local authorities to put in another 7,200 devices.
Lee, what you've covered really kind of emphasises to me that the OZone service that you're offering addresses not just the environmental, but also the operational and financial solutions that you can offer, and how it's all knitted together to make a comprehensive package, if you like, for switching across to ultra-low emission vehicles.
Our OZone policy is, our OZone product, should say, is all about helping companies embrace that and make the transition to a greener fleet. We offer, we can offer financial advice, environmental advice, operational advice, and we're actively out there looking for companies and customers where we can get involved and help them make the change. We've also we've seen a bit of a resurgence of salary sacrifice as well, and we're currently in the process of investing in that and getting a scheme in place. Because again, it's another fantastic way of helping employees get themselves into an ultra low emission vehicle because of tax savings. So you can actually you can get yourself an ultra low emission vehicle through a salary sacrifice scheme, probably cheaper, certainly cheaper in some cases than you can by going and sourcing it yourself privately. We're doing a lot and everything we can at the moment to help companies embrace it.
That's great, Lee. Thank you very much, and very interesting to hear about salary sacrifice being yet another tool that's available to businesses to help them green their fleet. I think that's all we've got time for, Lee. Thank you very much for speaking with me this afternoon.
You're welcome.
Thank you also to everyone for watching, and please tune in again to GreenFleet 365 soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you.